Hello folks, today we will talk about materials, how they are created, what material instances are, and how they are edited in real time. Let's go. So in Unreal for creating materials. In our content browser, we right-click on the mesh and see the green material. By clicking, we give it a name. Let's call it master. And with a double click, we open it. The material editing window will appear before us. And as we can see, we have an empty window here called the material graph. And this is a major difference between Unreal materials and those in Corona or V-Ray. Because there we already have a certain pre-programmed ability to change color, gloss, and so on. Here none of that exists, meaning we have to program our material from scratch, connect certain textures, certain parameters, so that we can control all of this. And also in Unreal, there are two types of materials. These are master material and material. Master material is very easy to distinguish. Under it, it simply says material. And when we open it, we will see a large number of nodes in front of us. We can apply these materials to objects, but it's better not to do so. Why? Because any changes in the material entail shader compilation. And this compilation takes time. But after we save our master material, we right-click on it, select, create material instance, and create an instance. And we see at the bottom it now says material instance, after which we can assign this instance to our object. And when we open it, we will see that we no longer have nodes, but parameters that we program together. And any changes now occur in real time without any reloading. Now let's create our own material. We open our master, and I'll tell you a little about what we have inside our material. Here it is. There is the name of our material master. This is the finish of our material. That is, everything we will program should ultimately connect here. Here we have color, metallic, specular, roughness, and so on and so on. And, as you may notice, certain pins are currently dark. Why? Because over here on the left, in the material domain, we choose what this is, what kind of material it is. In this case, we will be creating the simplest basic material, meaning which we use to cover all solid surfaces. So here we have surface. There can also be decal, as well as light function, but more on that in other videos. And next we have the choice of blending mode. What is this? This is an option for how this material works. And how are we creating it now? For solid surfaces, it is opaque, meaning non-transparent. In translation, it can be with a mask. As you can see, we chose with a mask and a slot opened for us. Here we can already connect a mask. Why do we need material with a mask? For creating leaves, to cut them according to the mask. But this will also be covered in other lessons. And here are a few other options. There is transparent. As we can see, by choosing transparent, our set of pins also changes. Let's return to opaque, the most common one. And here are a few more checkboxes that we will use. The main one is the two-sided checkbox. What does it do? As we know, in Unreal, polygons without thickness are rendered from one side. That is, from one side we see our polygon, and from the other side it is transparent. To ensure it is not transparent from both sides without thickness, we check the two-sided box, after which we will see our material even on objects without thickness. But don't check this box unless necessary, because this material is automatically calculated, twice as heavily because it is rendered twice. Now let's return to our pins. And in order to add something, we have a palette here on the right. What is this? By opening it, we see all the possible nodes that exist in Unreal for creating materials, specifically. And here to the right, we see 1, 2, 3, 4. These are hotkeys. Hotkeys are available for those nodes that are most frequently used. For example, a constant, the number 1, we either simply drag it. What is a constant? It is a fixed number. That is, we need to connect and indicate that our material is not metallic, meaning we simply connect 0. Accordingly, our material is not metal. If we need to say that it is metal, we change 0 to 1 here, and then that's it. Our material is metallic. This is a constant. And how do hotkeys work when creating materials? As it is written here, 1. This means that we press 1 on the keyboard, hold 1, and click with the mouse. And in that place, this node appears. There are also hotkeys next to others here. P next to the panel. In English, these are texture coordinates, just a bit. Later, I will tell you how tiling is created and so on. You can also find the same by right-clicking and typing. For example, we just pulled out a constant, so we write constant. And we see there is a constant. We click, and the same thing appears. Okay? To add any texture, we either search for the texture here in the palette. Searching here takes a long time. I practically don't use the palette. It's easier to right-click and type texture. And we have a texture sample. By clicking, a window appears where we can place some texture. Any node that we have here in our material graph, for example, whether it's a constant or a texture, by selecting it on the left, certain parameters change. In the case of a constant, we can change the value here, and in the case of a texture, we can insert some texture into the slot. Let me load a tree texture. Also look, there is an option to add a texture by simply taking the texture itself and dragging it here. It will automatically create this texture sample with the texture already inserted inside. Or select the texture, here in the content browser, select the texture sample and click on this arrow, and the texture will also go into the slot. The hotkey for adding a texture is T. Hold down the English T on the keyboard, click, and we get the same result. Texture sample. As you can see, there are many options. Use whichever is more convenient for you. Now, what do we do? Let me turn on the sphere. Simply take it and connect it to the base color. And our texture has already been added to our material, and we can see a kind of small presentation of what we've achieved. We can delete this, press apply, and we can even take our master material, but we won't. We'll create an instance from it, as we already know. Let's name it Me. Always use correct naming, and properly name all masters. M underscore. Well, in our case, I named the master. It can be master, but all instances should be named M underscore. And what is this? Well, let's call it wood01. And you can assign it, the material, to any geometry in several ways. Either by simply dragging the material onto the desired object, Ctrl-Z, or by selecting the object. There are slots for materials on the right. We also take and drag it into the desired slot. As we can see, now our wood is without gloss, without anything, because in our master material we just added the wood texture to the color, to the base color. It would also be good if we had some control over this texture. What do I mean? Well, for example, to make it lighter, darker, or remove saturation, or perhaps add some other color. And to avoid going back, not constantly exporting the texture to Photoshop, we can do this right inside our material. For example, to make it lighter, we can add a node called Power. Right-click, type Power. We have such a node. And what do? Simply through it, we pass it. As we can see, by default, this power has a value of 2, and our tree has already become like this, darker. If we set it to 1, everything will be by default. And let's connect a constant with a value of 1 here. As we already know, one click, this is a constant, we set 1 here, connect it. Now, we currently have the capability to effectively change. And even with negative values, our texture will be highlighted. Now, let's add the ability to remove the saturation of our texture. We have a special node which is called desaturate. Desaturation. We do the same. We skip connected. By default, our texture has become black and white. Let's connect a constant with a value of 0. This will mean that our texture is not desaturated. And the last thing we'll do, we will multiply our texture by some color. How to do this? Multiply it in the multiply. Right-click, search for multiply, or M, hold it on the keyboard, click, and we get a multiply. This is quite a common node that many people use, so you might want to remember this hotkey. And we need a color. Color in Unreal consists of 3 colors RGB. Accordingly, this is 3 clicks on the keyboard adds color for us. And here we can click and set some color. And if we mix our color with our texture through multiply, we see that it has become painted. Additionally, in this color, let's be silent, we'll set it to white. And in this way, we added the ability to change certain parameters of our texture without leaving our material. We press Apply. As you can see, Unreal starts thinking. Let's go back. Let's open our material instance. And we see that nothing has changed. We have no parameters, nothing at all. It's empty. We can't control anything. Why is that? Because for now, all these parameters are constants. They are fixed numbers. To convert them into parameters, we right-click and select Convert to Parameter. And immediately a window appears where you need to enter the name of this parameter and what it does. And here you write for yourself to understand later what it does. Let's write that this is brightness. We wrote brightness. Press Apply, after which we return to our instance and see what has appeared. Global, scalar, parameter. Here are also values. When we open it, we see brightness. And by checking this box, we have a 1. And we can move this slider left and right and see that in real time, our texture becomes lighter or more contrasted. You can name it, don't worry, you can name it contrast, for example. However, it's convenient for you, just so you understand what this parameter is responsible for. Let's return to master. And now we have desaturation. Let's transform this constant into a parameter and name it desaturation for better clarity. Press Apply, and let's do the same immediately with our color. Convert it into a parameter and write that this is the tint shade. And save it. Return to the instance. And we see that now we have both desaturation and the tint shade. So desaturation, when we start to increase, the texture becomes black and white. But as you noticed, I already set desaturation to 2. And we have some strange artifacts appearing. Essentially, this shouldn't happen. Our tint shouldn't be added. The texture should just become black and white. Therefore, we can limit this slider in our master material. As I mentioned before, when we select our variable parameter or any node, right here on the left, we have certain parameters. And here we have slider min and slider mark. So we can limit the values. Let's set slider min to -1 and slider mark to 1. And after saving and resetting our parameter here, we will see that now, as you can see, this slider is in the middle. The minimum value will be -1. I can't pull any further, and the maximum value will simply be 1. That is, we see that at the value of 1, we have a completely black and white texture, and at the value of -1, we have additional saturation at 100%. And this arrow, if you click it, resets the value to default. Okay, let's go back, and once again, I'm going to talk a little about constants and variable parameters. As we mentioned at the beginning, we have a constant, that is a fixed number. We extract it or click once, and it creates for us a constant. Later, we right-clicked and converted it into a parameter. And then we ended up with a variable parameter. This variable parameter can also be directly extracted from the palette. It is called a scalar parameter, variable parameter, scalar parameter. Let me find it somewhere here. I know it's hotkey, it's S on the keyboard. So I'm looking for it. Here is S. This is the scalar parameter. If I extract it, you will see that it will be the same. And immediately, as soon as I extract it, it asks to be given a name because it doesn't have any name yet. And the hotkey S click. This turns out to be the same as the constant. We just convert it into a parameter. Because sometimes when creating, we need to extract only the constant, but in most cases we can immediately create variable parameters. S click, and then we enter the name of the parameter that we need. So let's return to our material instance. And as you can see, now we can control in real time, add color, and there's no need to render anything. No need to wait for any calculations. Everything happens in real time. Now, let's also convert our texture into a parameter. Right-click, convert to parameter, and you need to give it a name. Well, our name is base color. We save. And returning again to our material instance, we see that a slot for the texture has appeared. And now we can, in real time, choose any other texture, apply it, and get a complete result. A new material. That is, we have created the possibility to create whatever we want. Material, whether it will be brick, wood, plaster, concrete, or fabric. Anything solid, any surface with this material. We can now cover them. Also, let's add something else close by. Let's return to our master material. And we will need another texture. Let's just duplicate this one. Select it. And to duplicate, you can either do Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. Or select it and press Ctrl-D. Let's choose the texture we need. Here's the black and white, roughness for wood. I selected it and we'll change the name. This is our roughness. And I'll add this texture here. And we can simply connect it to the roughness, press apply. And look at the result. But it's better for control. Stronger, weaker, closer, we can pass this texture through multiply. So, as we already remember, M, click. We take this texture, connect it through multiply, and add a variable parameter, S, click, and write that this is roughness. Let's set it to 0.5 by default. Or 1, let it be. The texture as it is. Press OK. Let's return here, open our material instance. Here we have roughness, and let's see what happens if we reduce this roughness. You see, the texture becomes less rough and shinier, as if our wood is coated with varnish. And at a value of 1, the value of this texture is fully taken, resulting in quite a worn out wood. And we just need to add the irregularities, that is the normal map. Let's duplicate our texture once more and name it normal. Open our textures. Carefully select our normal map for our wood. And place it in the appropriate slot. In this case, with the normal map, we cannot control it using multiply, because the normal map is a bit special map. It contains a data about the light that shines on our texture. And that data comes from 3 different directions, as if the light on our texture shines from the left, above, and directly onto our texture. Therefore, In this case, if we use multiply, it will work very poorly. For normals, there is a special node called a right click, specifically Latin, normal. Through it, we will connect our normal map. And just simply add an S-click. We call this normal. Look, by default it's 0. Flat and normal. This means how flat the texture becomes. That is, with the value 0 will be maximally extruded. Here's this illustration. At a value of 1, the surface will be maximally smooth. Let's check it. Press apply. Let's return to our texture. Let's open our instance. And to make it clearly visible, let me remove the roughness so the texture is shiny. As we can see now, the normal map works quite well. We have such a fine, very detailed pattern. And if we set the normal to 1, it means that we have made it 100% flat. That is, we have leveled our normal to 0. We have no data on irregularities, and our texture, our material becomes smooth and polished. And this way, we can control how much the normal affects our sphere. In this way, we have created your first material, simple and basic, but you can already change all these maps. Upload your own here and create completely different materials. Let me demonstrate this. In the textures, I have blue plastic, for example. I put the blue color into diffuse. Next, it has a normal map. And the wear of the same material we put into roughness. That's it. Let's reset all values to default. And if we look closely, we will see that it is worn plastic. It's that simple. The only thing, let's go back to our master material. I missed a very important setting. It is metallic. Metallic works for us simply as a variable parameter. So S-click, let's call it metallic. By default, let it be 0, meaning a non-metallic object. Press apply. Here. And if we need to create a metallic object, we simply choose metallic, set it to 1. And that's it. Now we have a blue metal that looks worn. Well, of course you can now set the desaturation to 1 and brightness to make it bright. And we have just a worn chrome. It's that simple. By simply setting metallic to 0, we get white plastic. It's with these simple manipulations. You can insert any textures. Let me also demonstrate, for example, something like Earth, we have normal map and roughness. And something like this swamp. See, it works nicely. That's it. You just need to have good textures. By the way, in the description under the video, I'll leave links to several resources where you can download high-quality textures. There are paid ones and there are free ones. The free ones are also very cool. High-quality 4K textures. Use them. And ultimately, in final conclusion, the only thing I'll show you for convenience, I would prepare placeholders for the standard material slots. What do I mean? So your master material, which you will duplicate and create instances from, currently looks like wood because we started with wood textures. But to make it look nicer, you can open your master material and in these slots, prepare placeholders for yourself. What do I mean? It's simply creating images in Photoshop with colors. So the default, diffuse, is just a small image, 16 to 16 pixels, filled with a light gray color, color 100, 100, 100 in RGB. And you simply take it here and insert it. The same goes for roughness. You can use the same texture. because it is gray. And in the normal map to make it flat. By default, you need to prepare the color. 1 and 20x, 1 and 20x, 255. It looks like this. It's a kind of a very light shade of purple color. And we just throw it in as well. Here. And we get a smooth material like this. And that's it. You have yourself, you need to save it. And that's it. After saving, you already have your own, you could say it's like an analog of Corona physical material. As soon as you extract it, it's still empty. This is the kind of material we have created together. We create an instance, give it the necessary name, after which we open it and see that we have a set of parameters that we can manipulate, making it very easy to create the materials we need. Now, you know how basic materials are created in Unreal Engine. They can be made more complex infinitely, but all of that will be in the next videos. So subscribe to not miss out. And also please leave in the comments any questions or suggestions for what videos to make next. With this, thank you for your attention and see you next time.